Long time no see. Boys and girls, mostly boys according to the YouTube analytics, but still. Boys and girls, welcome back to another one of these Babble videos that I've been attempting to do with some regularity, but fell off the past few weeks, but back again in the midst of a teardown of my drum set. Changing out some heads, moving some things around. I don't know when you may be watching this video, but it's approaching the Christmas holidays where I live, and things are winding down for me. So thought I'd spend some time just going through the gear and making some adjustments and things like that. But while I'm thinking about gear and moving things around, I thought it might be an interesting time to talk about just some of the little odds and ends that the less obvious pieces of gear that I'm utilizing, let's say. And these might be a bit shorter videos, but it doesn't really need to go in depth about some of these, but just some interesting things that don't get chatted a lot about, just things that I find interesting. And so one of the things that I was thinking about quite a bit, and I went back and forth for many years, not so much struggling, but obviously you can play drums in any kind of footwear, barefoot, socks, bedroom slippers, like these ones, anything, Chuck Taylors, dancing shoes, wrestling shoes, whatever you feel like playing in. I don't think there's really any advantage one way or the other for the type of footwear that you're playing. I don't think the footwear really makes up for technique, but it can definitely help your comfort level, and just it adds that little, maybe say like extra 5%. Similar to, you can play with any drum stick, but which one is more comfortable for you and is going to help your playing. And so over the years, I've dabbled with different things. I've gone from when I was playing a lot and playing a lot live. I had usually a couple different choices that I would do. My preference for a long time when I was at my my practice space or my comfortable area, I didn't have to worry about the floor being disgusting or whatever. I would play either in socks, or in the summertime I would actually even go completely barefoot. And I looked at a few drummers like Matt McDonough, Matt McDonough. I don't know how to say his name, from Mudvayne, and a handful of other drummers. Nico from Iron Maiden. These guys all played barefoot, and it definitely feels great, but it takes a little while to kind of get your foot like a callus almost, where the especially if you're doing a lot of doubles and sliding techniques and things, it takes a little while to get the skin on your foot up to snuff. And so yeah, I did that for a long time, and then as I started playing more and traveling and things like that, obviously walking around barefoot in a venue is not going to fly. So I started to look towards other shoes, and I've played in growing up, I would have been playing in whatever shoes I had at the time. So your typical running shoes and things like that, and there was always kind of a feeling where the pedal wasn't really there, and I could still play, but feeling it was like wearing a pair of gloves when you're holding onto a drumstick is kind of how I relate it. And I was always looking for a bit more connection to the pedal kind of thing. And so as I started playing more, I started looking towards more thin-soled shoes. And the obvious ones at this time were like a pair of Chuck Taylors. Everyone knows the Chuck Taylors. They've been around for a million years. They have very, very thin sole. And so my preference was to actually buy a new pair and then try to wear down the soles as much as I could, dragging my feet or whatever to try to get just a little bit of rubber between my foot and the pedal, sort of thing. And that's a great solution. It still is. And in fact, I still have a pair of Chuck Taylors to this day, and for some gigs I still would go to those first. You know, as I started playing recently, I was playing in kind of anything and everything. I was practicing at home, either in my socks or my bedroom slippers, and not really thinking too much about it. And then when I would go to a band rehearsal, I would have, you know, a different pair of shoes every time I would go. So it'd be Chuck Taylors, it would be a pair of Chelsea boots, like, you know, like, not to name drop a brand name, but Blundstone boots, you know, and they have a heel and not a super thick sole. I had a kind of a dressier version that had a little thinner sole, and I could very easily play drums in those boots. Wasn't an issue or anything like that with you know, mobility or flexibility or anything. You know, just elevated my heel a little bit was the only difference, but I was playing more straight ahead kind of rock and roll stuff anyway, so it wasn't a huge compromise to wear those boots. I had a bit of time at home, and I was reading, you know, some old modern drummers, which I've talked about in other videos, which I'm prone to do most of the time, and happened to come across some articles. One was an advertisement that was from Dave Weckl, you know, pretty noted jazz kind of fusion drummer, you know, and he had in, I want to say it was either the late 80s or the 90s at some point, he had a signature pair of shoes from Vic Firth. And basically they were almost like dancing shoes. So they were very narrow profile. You know, they were meant to kind of be like dressier, so you could wear them if you were at like a professional gig, like a wedding or whatever you needed them for. They didn't look out of place on any stage, but yeah, they were very much a like the profile of a very slim dancing shoe. And so that was one note that I had taken. And, you know, the other one from reading these old articles was Neil Peart. And in the 90s, Neil Peart went through like a kind of a reinvention of his playing. And, you know, he talked a lot about like some changes that he had made. And I don't know if he was using shoes like this before, but in, you know, the articles that I read from the mid 90s, he had talked about, you know, actually starting to wear dancing shoes as well. So they would have been similar to the Vic Firth shoes, without the name brand associated with it. You know, he had some noted or company that was making the shoes that were specifically a dancing shoe, and he talked about being able to feel the pedal more and that type of thing. And you know, I think he had even alluded to like perhaps Buddy Rich wearing a very thin-soled shoe as well, because Buddy Rich had a dance background in tap dancing, and just kind of moved over from one to the other. So thinking about this, and then, you know, seeing some recent videos, like a drummer named Achilles Priester. I see a lot of videos of him, amazing drummer, and he's wearing wrestling boots. And, you know, and Danny Carey, I've been watching a lot of videos of his, and as of late, there's been a lot of videos with him going through his gear and things, and he also wears wrestling boots. So it came across where I was just like, I should probably try some new things, just for fun. And so I went through and, you know, I tried some different shoes and, you know, slippers, another pair of Chuck Taylors, different things. And so I got a hold of a pair of wrestling boots. And these are them here. These are them here? Anyway, these are the shoes. And so nothing special about them. You know, like Adidas and a handful of other manufacturers make shoes that are just like this. And I have a particularly wide foot, and it's shoes for me always seem to run narrow. So you can kind of see the profile of these shoes is like, especially the toe box is very, you know, tapered, and the sole is very tapered. So there's not a lot of area for a big wide foot like mine. So I was a little concerned at first. And then as I started wearing the shoes, and getting them broken in. They're so lightweight and so like malleable to your foot that it doesn't take long to break them in. And once I got the material broken in after playing for, walking around a little bit and then playing drums maybe for, 4 or 5 hours or something like that, I got a real feel for the shoes after they were broken in. And the connection that I was looking for to the pedals was kind of there. It was much more apparent to me, like the doubles and all these things translated much better. And the added benefit was that, I had the rubber grip on the bottom, which kind of helps a little bit. I don't do a ton of like slide techniques or anything. I kind of rely a lot more on bouncing the pedal to do doubles instead of sliding. And so having my foot kind of planted in place, was pretty nice as well. And sometimes when I play, I use the Iron Cobras, the typical, the Power Glide. I've had these for 1,000 years. And sometimes, just depending on technique, my foot will kind of slide up the pedal. Normally I would have my, plant my foot right on the Iron Cobra logo. Sometimes, just depending, foot slides up. I've taken the toe guards or the toe stops, whatever they call them, off because eventually sometimes my foot kind of moves up closer to where the chain actually is. See the chain? So with having the shoes and a pair of boots on, wrestling boots, when my foot does slide up towards the chain, it keeps my my toes from getting caught up or rubbed by the chain or whatever. So just a little extra toe protection. And then having them as well, like when I do play gigs, like I don't have to change footwear out most of the time unless I'm going outside. I can keep them on and walk around the venue and don't run into any issues like, stepping in whatever is on the floor of your local venue, you know what I mean. If you've never given much thought to footwear and things like that, it's kind of a lesser thought about area than our hands and some other things. I've always given more kind of consideration to thrones and these more obvious things, but it's been a huge kind of not improvement in my playing, but just like a more feeling kind of connected to the drum set sort of thing. And sometimes just any little change you can make like that can add a lot of fun or comfort or whatever to playing. And just these little things that we like to mess around with as drummers and little tips and tricks and stuff. So yeah, if you're feeling bored or stuck in your playing or something like that, just try changing out like little things like that, and just see if it adds anything or not. I mean, it's it's not a huge expense or an endeavor to try, and it's you might discover something you didn't know was there. So yeah, this is the one about drumming shoes. If you didn't know they existed, they do. It's just not in the naming structure that you might think. If you think outside the wheelhouse, you can find some things that are right up the alley of drumming. Oh boy, time to end the video. Thanks for watching. This has been the one about drum shoes. Cheers.